So, got the silicone on everywhere. Should be a bead of around, 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 or so. Doesn't have to be too pretty, but you get the idea. So after you finished fighting with getting the oil tank back on and getting the hoses all hooked up, what you want to see is this nice little bead squeezed out all the way around. That's what you want to see. It's hard to see on the back side there, but yeah, there's your gasket. I've done this so many times, and the more times I do it, the more frustrated I get. It's a pain in the ass working on these sleds. I don't know what the engineers were thinking, but yeah. I know I said earlier, the more you do it, the easier things get, which is true to some extent. It is easier, but it just reminds you of how much of a pain in the ass it is every single time. Anyways, oil tank's back on. Reconnect this hose here. Torque screw there, and another one there fastened to the heat shield for the exhaust pipe. And then yeah, don't forget to tighten up your O-ring, your hose clamps. There's one there. There's another one here. Sorry, bad lighting. Hose clamp there, and then that one there, right there. Yeah, and then that's pretty well it. So that was the other thing. Once you get this oil tank back on, let it sit overnight. Don't fill it up. They say this in the manual. Don't fill it up with oil right away. Let it sit overnight for at least 12 hours or 24 hours, I think. Can't remember which one it is, but at least 12 hours. And yeah, let the that silicone tighten up. Another thing to remember is that hose clamp right there, holding these two on, these two pipes. So don't forget to reinstall that. So that hose clamp's been tightened. That one's been put back in its original position. And this top one, the top one I loosen off. And yeah, disconnect it from there. So yeah, everything's back together. Just go over, look, make sure everything is back together. And then yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and fill up this chain case with oil, not the oil tank, until tomorrow. I'm sure some guys do it, but I've always waited. So get your sled. I had mine raised up on the jack there, so I had to lower it back into the original position as close as I could get it, because if I had it jacked all the way up, this the sight glass reading would be a little different. So I've got it roughly pretty close to where it normally sits. And yeah, I use one of these neat little angled funnels, and then Yum Lube, 80, 90. And I just fill it up basically to the top of the sight glass there. That's all. You can see that there. Yeah, so I fill it right to the top. Looking a little cloudy. Yeah, that's cleaner. There we go. Okay, let's get at her. So you should be able to see that line going across the sight glass about 3/4 of the way up. That's kind of where you want to be sitting. Even if you go right to the very top, it's not going to hurt too much, if any. But yeah, so 3/4 of the way. There you go. Nice and clean. So when I before I put the chain case oil in, when I tighten up these torque screws, there's 2 of them at the bottom here. I don't know if you can see those down in there. Do it another way. There's one here. And there's one over here. What I'll do is I'll snug them all up all the way around the chain case. I'll come back to these 2 bottom ones and tighten these 2 first. Because if it's going to leak anywhere, I find it always leaks from the bottom of the chain case. That's just where the oil sits. So I snug these 2 up first. And then I start zigzagging back and forth, making my way to the top. A lot of guys will find leaks, little spots of oil on their garage floor. And it's because those 2 bottom screws aren't usually tight enough. I find if you do get a leak, you do find a couple spots of oil underneath your chain case, just snug those 2 torque screws up just ever so slightly until the leak stops. Like I say, you don't want to over tighten these things because you can strip the threads in this casing. So just yeah, keep that in mind. But that's what I do to try and eliminate the leaks, and I find it works pretty good. So start by tightening down those 2 at the bottom, and then start working your way up. So next up, just don't forget to plug in your speedometer sensor. So it just comes up through there. Plug her back in. That's it. Come on. And then this stuff just sits down in there. Don't forget to plug this one back in. Okay. Yeah, that stuff just sits in there. So this is kind of dummy proof. When you put this part back in, this little detent, there's a little, there's a little notch out of the side here. That's for this notch here in the case. It can only go one way. All right, so if you find it's not going in, flip it around. So it will look like that when you're finished. Okay, so there again, inside the chain case, make sure that shift fork is all the way over towards the engine when you put this back in, when you reinstall that. That will ensure everything's lined up properly. All right, so when you take these 3 screws out, your servo motor originally sits like this. When you take it out, it's gonna naturally want to turn to the right, like that. So when it's screwed in place, it's like this. And when you take those 3 screws out, it's gonna let the tension off and it's gonna go to the right like that. So when you're reinstalling this, you want to put it on like that, and when you put the screws back in, you've got to put some pressure, some tension on it to the left towards the engine so that it'll be back in position, and it will hold that gear, that shift fork, in place towards the engine and away from the reverse gear. So I know I've already drained the oil tank, so yeah, there again, working backwards here. I just wanted to show you this is what I do, and a couple other guys, lots of other guys do. They'll cut a 1 liter bottle. I don't know if you can see that coming out the bottom there, and yeah, stick it right underneath the drain there, and then you can put your pan on the floor, and yeah, it just runs right out. No mess. Otherwise, it goes all over your belly pan, everywhere. So just a quick tip for you is when you're draining the oil tank. Now when it comes time to reinstall your exhaust, this spring that clamps your exhaust down, I just sit this upright like that. Okay? It's gonna sit right in the top like that. Then I can grab it. If it's hanging down here, you're not pulling it up. Good luck. So I sit it up there like that. Put the exhaust suitcase in, and then I can latch on to this top hook here and pull it up and over into the hole. Just a pro tip for you. So now I can take my handy homemade hook that I made, stick it down in there, grab onto that, get it up into that little tab with the hole in it. Piece of cake. There you have it. There's a bit of an inside look on how to do a track swap. I know I didn't start right from the very beginning and started about halfway through working backwards, but hopefully you picked something up from this. The other thing I forgot to mention was the top gear inside the chain case. There's a bushing on the inside. Have a look at that. Make sure it's not wore out. Excuse me. You'll find if it is worn out, before you take the top gear off, see if it's got any play. If it's got a bit of play, that the bushing on the inside will need to be replaced. So just something another thing to watch out for. But yeah, that's pretty well it. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, like I say, if you haven't done a track swap before, just take your time with it. Even just going into the chain case, take your time with it. Take pictures if you have to, so that you remember how to put it all back together. And yeah, you'll do just fine. So if you got any questions, or if you found this video helpful in any way, leave a comment down below. Hit the subscribe button. Share it if you need to. Yeah, thanks for watching.